Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bloodworth, and as you can see by the graphics, today's video I am making my return to my coverage of Crown and Skull RPG. This is by Runehammer Games, and going to continue with part 3 of my coverage, the Player's Guide. And today's video I'm going to be covering from game flow through to the extremes. I'm going to switch views here just to go over what those are in between. So here is what's called the gold edition of Crown and Skull. There is another edition of this. It's a basic edition, which is same content, just different packaging that you can get for about $50, I believe. This was $80 for this particular one, including all of the PDFs and everything for either of the two versions that you do get. And I think overall it cost about $90 because shipping and handling. But absolutely beautiful book. Looks great on the shelf, and it's going to look great on the table of a convention. Most likely the first convention that I will be running this at is actually AutoCon, which is I'll start giving you details for that convention once they proceed forward with more details on it. I believe it's going to be in June. My actual next convention is going to be Rising Phoenix in April. I won't have time to change up my schedule there, but I might bring this along just in case either if Runehammer Games is represented there, if Mr. Farinali will be there, and then I'll have him sign the book. But I might do an open session of this in case something comes up. Time frame that I can actually run it in. But anyway, let's get back to what I'm going to be covering today in detail. So I am going to be covering the game flow, making rolls, attrition, phases, hero points, and then the extremes, which is another way of saying critical hits and critical failures. So that's what I'm going to be jumping into in depth today. And let's move on to the next view here. So here you have game flow, all right, and it's one thing to describe towns, dream up adventures, or role play a heroic character, but this is a game, not just a narrative, governed by chance and rules. That is so important to point out, that, this isn't storytelling. This isn't, a group of friends sitting around a table and narrating a story without the governance of game rules. So what you're doing is that you're sitting there and you're letting a combination of player interaction with one another, including the game master. You're letting that interaction be influenced by the dice rolls, governed by the game rules. And when you come out of the session, then you will have a story that has been cobbled together from all of those various inputs, some of them variable, some of them random, some of them dependent on this player's actions versus that player's actions, or the game master's information that is being fed out to the players so that they might react to that information and such. It really is a combination of of all of those elements. And so the narrative really becomes post gameplay. and you don't know what the full aspect of the narrative is going to be until after the session has actually run its course through there. So, really, really important, I think, to understand that's the very nature of the tabletop role playing experience is a combination of all of those things combined. Redundant there, sorry. So setting the scene. When gathering with friends changes tone from chatter to gameplay, the GM will gather attention, set music and lights, which is probably why some sound has been included in the in the PDF package and the zip files for this game. So setting the music and the lights, ensuring that all players are ready to go, and then you begin. Through a series of descriptions, reminders, questions, and confirmations, a great GM will pull everyone back to a specific moment where the story is waiting to continue. The Empire of Frogs is at your doorstep, rallying columns of warriors in the marsh. The Alderman has chosen your company to defend the southern wall, entrusting you with the safety of the mysterious old man called Grimblegums. As the war cry of frog folk is heard, drums in the bog, we see our heroes at the ready. Grimblegums trembles with anticipation for the battle to come. Let's get into it. All right, so there you have a narration taking place to bring the players back into the session and ready to go. Ready to see how the game mechanics now are going to kick in to move that narrative forward. Once everyone is in the moment, the action kicks in. The great majority of play time happens in phases, moving from player to player around the table. The GM will call the next phase and ask what you are doing. Descriptions become dice rolls and their hoped for results. Enemies attack. The scene and terrain may change or escalate, and on it goes. A phase is a one moment of action, a shared sliver of time between heroes and enemies. A round is one full set of phases for players and the GM. In the final seconds before the explosion, I bring my blade down on the evil commander. Victory is ours. Transitions and table talk. When a scene is concluded, the story will lurch forward. There will be GM descriptions, montages, player plans, and a short break. Players will be seeking means to rest or upgrade their characters. The GM will be revealing new truths, keep the danger pressing in, and offer little quarter for weary warriors. When the transition is complete, a new scene will be set, and it begins again. As the smoke of the battle clears, a new horror rises in the swamp. It's already within bowshot of the wall. Any actions in phase one. All right, so this is once again a description of the GM to the player. So they've essentially just gone through one scene, and then it goes out of what's taking place. They start thinking as their players, this is what I'm going to start preparing my character to do and such, and then the next scene lunges right into the next phase of the game session. And as he points out here, all right, there's only a short break in between one moment and the next, one scene and the next. And this is meant to keep that level of tension rolling forward and, keep the players, engaged in the action as it starts to take place again in the next scene. Making rolls. Great games always include interesting and varied roles for players. All kinds of moments will call for rolling dice in the categories below. The flat roll. To test a simple unmodified luck, the GM may call for a flat roll. The simple roll is made with a d20 rolling at or below a target or opposing roll to succeed. You grab a hold of the anchor chain to pull, but a fishman is pulling from below the waves. Let's see who can roll lowest on the d20. Player declared skill rolls. Often during play, you will announce, I will roll my jump skill to leap over this creek. All right. You can make that more role play and less, less gamified. Instead of saying, I will roll my jump skill, you will just say, I will attempt to leap over this creek. Or similar equivalent. Roll a d20 at or below the skill's listed value to succeed. In some cases, a difficulty penalty will reduce the skill's value. Note that many specialized or athletic actions are simply not possible without a working skill. You string to bend the bars, but without a muscle skill, you accomplish nothing. All right? So sometimes not having a particular skill will preclude you from even attempting something. All right? And that's a little bit different than the concept that we've more recently heard where, the GM will let the players attempt anything. And there's always a chance, if you, in this game it's roll low. So if you roll a 1, you're automatically successful. There's times when you should, as a game master, just let them attempt it, but there's no possible way of actually doing it without a specific skill. Called for defense roll. Enemies do not make attack rolls. When attacked, the GM will ask you to roll your defense roll. Roll at or below this value to avoid injury for an incoming attack. An enemy stat, ATK, will act as a penalty to the reduced defense roll. The serpent lashes out at you. The viper has an attack of 3. You roll your defense with a -3 penalty. Rolling damage and effect. There is no to hit roll in Crown and Skull. When you attack, you roll damage instantly. This roll can use a wide variety of dice. Add the total rolled for damage inflicted. This roll can be reduced by the enemy's stat called defense. So the defense stat either acts as an absorption where, let's say they have a defense of a 3 and you've done 2 points of damage. They've absorbed it. If you've done 4 points of damage, you still did some damage to them. You did 1 point of damage to the character. And that can be described, in a way that he or it virtually dodged your attack, but you just glanced the target or grazed the target. Or you can say, in the case where they totally, absorbed it, you punched this thug in the face and he literally ate your punch. Like it did nothing to him with a grin coming across his face as if your punch meant nothing to him. You can describe this in a variety of ways. Yes or no rolls. When important yes or no questions come up, the GM doesn't have an answer. Roll a d6. 1, 2, and 3 means no. 4, 5, and 6 means yes. All right, all other rolls. How long until the boat arrives? How many hound masters are there? How tall is the statue? How much armor does this knight have? All kinds of numbers are needed and rolled for in play. Be flexible, ready for anything, and trust the dice absolutely. So it's the GM that's doing a lot of this rolling for those questions and those other things outside of what the players are actually doing and making their rolls. So there's definitely a more player focused here as far as the dice rolling is concerned, and fewer DM rolls, to be honest with you, looking at this. Attrition. Sustaining damage from hazards and attacks is part of any RPG. You'll be hit by arrows, knock your head, sustain sword cuts, or drop items when exhausted. Attrition is a term for the reduction of your character's resources when hit by hazards and attacks. Here's how it works. When injured, cross off equipment and or skills. Cross them off. When you're hurt, you'll be losing use of your skills and gear. Crossed off equipment and skills cannot be used until restored or repaired. Role play it out. Attrition impairs your senses, physical wellness, or equipment beyond use. In some cases, items may be lost permanently, but skills are never permanently lost. A few simple rules govern attrition. Attrition types. Enemies and hazards will hit you in one of 5 ways. Basic attrition, cross off any one item or skill. Flesh attrition, randomly select a skill and cross it off. Equipment attrition, randomly select one equipment and cross it off. Destroy attrition, destroy one random equipment and cross off if randomly select. Let me read that. Destroy one random equipment and cross off one randomly selected skill. Destroyed equipment is permanently lost. Brutal attrition. Cross 1d6 total random equipment and skills. Total inventory. So actually, let me go back. So when you get hit by something, you're not taking hit points of damage. What you're going to lose is you are going to lose based on the amount of the attack, the type of the attack. You are going to lose the use of equipment or a skill or a combination of the both. Sometimes it will be random, and in generally it looks like it will be randomly selected. So you won't be able to say, well, I'm carrying, and he does get to this a little bit later, I'm carrying, a whole bunch of nonsense items and then 5 items that I really care about, and let the randomization hit the nonsense items that I'm carrying. He works around that, and you'll see. Total inventory. All characters are allowed to carry 10 skills and 10 items in their inventory maximum. All small items are counted as a single pouch item. All right? Healing and repair. Upon a successful heal by magic potion or first aid, restore 1 crossed off skill for damaged equipment. Use repair or armor skill. Destroyed gear will need to be replaced entirely. Rest and recovery. Regain a combined D4 of equipment and skills with a night's rest in safety. Additionally, after each scene in play, once safety is found, no enemies or timers are incoming, take a breather, regain 1 equipment or skill, catching your breath, ready to go on. Death. If a hit can't be absorbed by inventory, you take a hit to the heart and will die at the end of the next phase 5 unless healed. Phase. Read on. All right, so Yeah, let's say you only have one item and one skill left, and then you get hit with a brutal attrition attack, and you're going to cross off four more, items and or skills. All right, you don't have enough to absorb all of that. Your character will die unless healed in the fifth phase. Phases. Phases are a unique aspect of Crown and Skull. They divide time into bite-sized pieces and give player turns order, timing, and detail at each scene as each scene unfolds. Enemies use phases to act. 5 phases. Think of a phase as cool moments in the action scene. A collection of these moments is called a round. Which phase a hero takes action is a meaningful choice for timing and strategy. There are no held actions here, as in many RPGs, and your phase is locked for the encounter once chosen, so choose with intent. So, let's say AD&D. AD&D, oftentimes I will have my, the phase usually goes, or the sequence, the round sequence generally goes missile fire first, followed by spells, followed by melee. Movement can occur before or after any of those, or even split. All right, where the character can move half of their movement, make an action, and then move half of their movement again. All right, what this does is it makes you declare which phase your character is going to act in, and then there is no changing up of that. Now, certain actions you might be taking place will automatically happen in certain phases, and the same works for monsters as well. So let's go to choosing phases. Generally, players will agree on which phase is best, especially after a few battles inform their decisions. What phase a character chooses can be changed, but not mid-combat. Players can also choose the same phase. Track your choice on your character sheet here. So you will mark off, each individual player is going to mark off in which phase their character is acting during that particular scene. On your phase. When your phase comes up, it's your turn to act. You have 3 options listed. You can move. Move elsewhere in the scene about 6 inches on the table. A small sidestep move is allowed without using a phase. Perform an action. Make an attack, use a skill, cast a spell, or perform one discrete action. This takes up an entire phase. So you cannot move and then perform an action in here. You can sidestep and make an action, but you cannot move even a partial part of your movement in order to do that. Hurry. If you need to move and do something in one turn, your haste opens up your defense with a clumsy haste. All enemies in the scene gain +5 to attack against you for 1 round. Hurry can only be used for a move plus action combo, not dual action or dual move. Okay, so yeah, if you want to risk making a hurried action where you're going to move and then perform an action, you can do that, but you will be at a +5 or a -5 if you want to look at it that way to your defense. They will have a much better chance of hitting you in that phase. Enemy phases. Enemies will act in 1 to 3 phases per round. A monster attacking in phases 1, 3, and 5, for example, will keep an entire team of heroes occupied. Anytime enemies and heroes share a phase, hero goes first. the GM call. During play, a GM will keep things cruising along by calling for actions during a phase. It's okay, it's now phase 3. Who's up? Lucy, that's you. The wolves are coming in fast. What will you do? All right. So I think it's really important for players to know what their characters are doing without requiring the game master to prompt them, hey, it's your turn. If the players are engaged in the action of the gameplay, they're immersed in the scene. They know what's going on in the scene. They'll know what phase they're in. They'll be thinking about leading up to their phase. Let's say it's phase 3, as the example is in here. During phase 1 and 2, that player in phase 3 should be thinking about what he or she is going to do once it's their time up, and they should know it's their time up. All right, and they should know. I just don't like the idea of the GM saying, hey, it's your turn. What are you going to do? I'd rather them just either know it's their turn and go right into their action, or as a consequence for not being ready to go, they lose their turn completely. So that's the one thing where I would kind of, like to get away from that, very, very gamey, gamification of it, and remind people when it's their turn. Just pay attention what's going on, and you'll know when it's your turn without having to be told. Hero points. In the course of their perilous lives, our heroes will need replacement gear, new armor, healing herbs, new skills, magic elixirs, wagons, war horses, hired thugs, bribe funds, beach huts, and court finery to survive and thrive. Crown and Skull uses hero points for players to buy items and upgrade their characters. All right, so it's kind of like experience points, right? So you'll be using hero points to create and later grow your character. The GM will award hero points after each session, granting more for session MVP or other momentous elements of play. In Crown and Skull, this replaces the heaping of treasure. As such, you'll be looking for a chance to spend these gathered points on new skills, spells, improved equipment, or even an animal companion. There is, however, a key limitation to your spending opportunities. At first, this limitation may not seem like much. Resting to regain resources is very common in many RPGs. Simply restoration occurs by the rules on page 12, spending hero points. It is different matter requiring rest, safety, skilled people, special equipment training, or techniques surviving to perform. In short, pending hero points is not just rest. Spending hero points, I'm sorry. It's an active state of character development with more specific requirements than rest and safety. All right, so upgrading or creating new armor may require a forge, anvil, or capable blacksmiths. Improving a falconry skill requires meeting with a local expert. Upgrading the magic skill might be achieved by reading from age-old tablets or dusty tomes. This limitation, combined with life of travel and danger, should make the spending of hero points a milestone moment for any character. Can it be a town? Gods above, let's go. I've been sitting on a dozen points for ages. So, hero points is not something you're going to be spending in a dangerous environment in an environment that is going to be very, very active around the players and changing up and moving and doing all kinds of things. It's not going to be while they're traveling to some place. It is very, very clear that spending hero points is going to take place when you are in a town and have availability of all of the resources and services that a town might provide. Last section, the extremes. During play, things can get intense. Some roles are all but impossible. Death can be all too close, defeat imminent. At times like these, the extremes of the game are your only chance, so know them well. Negotiation. Characters often get themselves into terrible situations of danger and limited time. When this happens, roles can become prohibitively difficult. This is a time to negotiate with the GM, seeking environmental or strategic elements that can soften the difficulty. Don't be shy. The wall isn't climbable. Can I lean on some of these desks against it for a boost? All right. So, if the GM is describing something in a particular way, but you know that you need to get to some objective beyond that obstacle, then think of ways that you can potentially change your possible outcome. Critical success and failure. Extreme successes and failures are called crits, critical or crits. A d20 roll of 1 scores a critical success. So this is a roll low system. And a 20, a critical failure. Each of these rolls will create a maximal version of success or failure. Critical successes overcome impossible odds, grant extra time, or defy belief. Critical failures cost precious equipment, accelerate destructive environments, or lend advantages to foes. It's a crit. Not only do you leap the creek, your pursuers fall in. Hero coins. Acts of heroism or astounding play are rewarded by the GM with a hero coin. A hero coin, not to be confused with hero points, can be redeemed. All right. 1, you can reroll any roll entirely. 2, you can maximize the damage or output of an attack or effect. Coins can be freely given between players. A player may only have 1 coin at a time. We need this attack to be huge. We're out of options. Here, take my coin. Metagaming. In an effort to overcome or outwit the odds, players may find themselves metagaming, that is, using their overall knowledge of game mechanics to exploit details or loopholes. This has 2 forms, one good, one bad. The good kind of metagaming means players use deep knowledge of items and mechanics to maximize their chances. The bad kind, often called cheesing, employs hard-to-believe or flimsy methods to make things easy or gimp the game. Leaping from a rock to earn a deadly attack. Great. Padding your hero with ham sandwiches to absorb attrition. Not very cool. My fighter has 10 skills, all at value 3. My inventory is mainly free biscuits. I also carry a bag of backup biscuits. Dude, you can't do that. So like I said, there's, you're not going to count, if you're carrying 5 iron spikes, they don't count as 5 individual items in your pouches as they're described. I would say all 5 iron spikes. So if you are attacked and you randomly lose iron spikes, you randomly lose all of your iron spikes. And I would describe that as, the pouch that you were carrying your iron spikes in has been split open, and they fly out and they fall into uh, crevices in the in the rock surface, and you've lost all five. All right, and that's how you detail you deal with that kind of a thing. So be a little bit creative. Um, don't let loopholes of the description of a mechanic get in the way of common sense. And there we have it. So we have that full gambit of from game flow through the extremes, and it really is a very innovative system. It's one that I haven't encountered many of these aspects before at all. So it is definitely outside of the box. 90% of it I agree with. There's a few phases in there, a few ways of expressing actions that, I'd rather see it more role played out. Um, I'd rather see the players actually role play and think with their characters' minds and speak with their characters' actions. A character isn't going to say, well, I'm going to roll against my dexterity. No, just state what your character is attempting to do, and between the game master and yourself, you already know what you need to roll and what you're rolling against. You only have, there's no attributes in this, all right? So you only have the 10 skills that you have. You only have 10 items that you're carrying. So there's not a whole lot of complexity here that you shouldn't know exactly what your target number is when you're rolling something. And we'll see more detail of that when we go into part 4, character creation, and we start to see exactly how a character will work in Crown and Skull. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, if you're already running this or playing in playing this and everything, please jump in the comments section below and let me know what your experience has been so far. Many of you, a lot of people are probably doing reviews as well, and I welcome anyone to come in and let me know what you're thinking about the game, and the points that you think are important to take a look at. And as always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen sometime soon. Um, Possibly at a convention coming up, very, very soon for me in April, and then later on in June, and then in September or early October. I know that ShireCon had to change its dates and its location, so going to bring in some details on that a little bit later on as well, once some of those details do get hammered down. But as always, thanks for joining. Enjoy the rest of your week. Here in New York, it's an absolutely gorgeous day where I live. So definitely want to get outside today. As you can see, I'm wearing a t-shirt, so I can literally go out wearing a t-shirt today. That's how beautiful it is out there. So you all have a great one. Take care. Thanks for joining.